Every 15 to 20 years, we have another crisis. We called them panics. We had different names for them. For 140 years, the pattern is just unmistakable. Then we hit the Great Depression. And coming out of the Great Depression, we put 3 new regulations in place. Glass-Steagall, which divides our community banks from the Wall Street investment banks, FDIC insurance, and some SEC regulations so you can invest on Wall Street and they can't cheat you too directly. For 50 years, we have no bank failures, no major crises. It works. It gets to be the early 1980s. We go with this idea of let's get rid of regulation. And what happens? Late 1980s, savings and loan crisis. Should have been a warning. Late 1990s, remember long-term capital management?
Yep.
The hedge fund should have been a warning. Early 2000s, Enron should have been a warning, but we let it go. And where do we end up? In the biggest crisis since the Great Depression.
The fusing together of the idea of banking with inherently risky, speculative activity is, in my judgment, unwise. And we are deliberately and certainly with this legislation moving towards inheriting much greater risk in our financial services industries. We will, in 10 years' time, look back and say we should not have done that because we forgot the lessons of the past.
I made a mistake in presuming that the self-interest of organizations, specifically banks and others, was such as that they were best capable of protecting their own shareholders.
We're talking about betting against the very thing that you're selling without disclosing that to that client. Is there not a conflict?
In the context of market making, that is not a conflict.
Could you give me a yes or no to whether or not you considered yourself to have a duty to act in the best interests of your clients?
Who received the $1 trillion in funds that the Federal Reserve has handed out to domestic institutions? He said, I'm not going to tell you.
I have a hard time understanding how you have put $2.2 trillion at risk without making those names available.
It's long overdue. We need to audit the Federal Reserve.
Conservative members of the court ruled corporations have First Amendment rights and that the government cannot impose restrictions on their political speech. It will undoubtedly cripple the ability of ordinary citizens, Congress, and the states to adopt even limited measures to protect against corporate domination of the electoral process.
There is nobody in this country who got rich on his own. You moved your goods to market on the roads the rest of us paid for. You hired workers the rest of us paid to educate. You built a factory and it turned into something terrific or a great idea. Keep a big hunk of it. But part of the underlying social contract is you take a hunk of that and pay forward for the next kid who comes along.